Let's talk about HB 563 in North Carolina. It's on the move again. New amendments no longer ban Delta 8, but may effectively ban vape and flower products. Hi, I'm Morgan Davis. I'm a cannabis attorney in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let's talk about how to keep your business protected and thriving. Hey guys, Morgan Davis and my favorite assistant, Harley. We are in Seven Devils, North Carolina this week. And so we are coming to you live from the mountains, right before nap time. So my assistant may seem sleepy at some points during this video and or grumpy. HB 563 is a bill to amend and regulate hemp-derived products in North Carolina that we've talked about in previous videos. It was stalled for a little while, but it's on the move again now. The last video we talked about the fact that there was some weird language that actually effectively banned Delta 8, Delta 7, Delta 10, and how that was going to be a problem. By the way, Delta 10, Delta 7, we'll talk about those in other videos, but very uncommon products. Delta 8 obviously being the biggest issue for a lot of stakeholders in North Carolina. So that language was taken out. Delta 8 is now allowed to stay, as well as Delta 9, Delta 7, Delta 10 as cannabinoids in hemp products. However, they've changed a few other things that could be problematic. They have adapted I've proposed to adapt what's called a total THC standard, but I'm actually calling it total THC plus because it's a broader definition than I've seen so far in other states. Total THC plus in terms of HB 563 means that when measuring the THC concentration of a product, in order for it to be compliant, it must contain less than or no more than 0.3% THC in the aggregate with any cannabinoid. So what does that mean? It means whether it's a Delta 9 THC, a Delta 10 THC, a Delta 8 THC, or some combination thereof, and it contains any other cannabinoid, CBD, CBG, CBN, THCV, THCA, the aggregate of all of them together can be no greater than 0.3%. That is problematic because it takes into account far more than any other standard that I've seen so far. And I think ultimately effectuates a ban of a lot of products currently in the market. Most vapes will not be able to meet this standard. What additionally does it do? Testing limitations on specific impurities, chemicals, and solvents. So before, it required a higher degree of testing than is currently required because pretty much nothing is required right now. But now they've built out this massive list of specific levels of impurities that your testing lab is going to have to make sure your product comes in under. And your COA is going to have to reflect that. So anybody in North Carolina who's going to continue to sell products or who is manufacturing or distributing products, start looking at, if this passes, start looking at who your lab is, who your third-party testing is, and ask them, do they have the capacity to test for these impurities? Can they produce a COA for you that's going to include all this stuff? Because if not, you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to change third-party testing partners. There are milligram caps. So there's two measures of milligram caps. The first, I'll read you the specific language. Products may not do any of the following. 1, be sold in a serving that contains more than 200 milligrams in the aggregate of one or more hemp-derived cannabinoids. So, doesn't mean just your intoxicating cannabinoids. It means any hemp-derived cannabinoid cannot be more than 200 milligrams in the aggregate per serving. That means CBD products. You cannot have a CBD product if it's a distillate and it's got more than CBD in it. Whatever is in the serving, the total cannabinoids in that serving cannot be more than 200 milligrams. For certain cannabinoids, I'm sure you can guess, the intoxicating ones. You cannot have a serving that contains more than 10 milligrams. So it cannot be more than 10 milligrams in the aggregate of D9, D7, D8, or D10. That is 10 milligrams seems like, kind of an understandable, what we would consider a common sense milligram cap. At least that's what a lot of people would argue. But the sentence is, be sold in a serving that contains more than 10 milligrams in the aggregate of one or more of the following hemp-derived cannabinoids: D9, D7, D8, D10. So if you walk into a hemp or vape shop, a lot of times these days you're going to find a product that has a big mixture of stuff. What this is trying to do is regulate even those products. So if you've got a D9 and an HHC product, it's going to be capped and regulated under this. And lots of other things in that too. Again, this is going to make a lot of existing products no longer viable in the North Carolina market. That includes a lot of vapes and most THCA flower. We've talked about THCA before and its popularity, especially in flower. So THCA, you can go see that video, but just quick recap. THCA is the precursor to Delta-9. So when it is sold, it is legally compliant. When it is ignited, it generally has a lot more Delta-9 in it than is legally allowed. That is probably going to be prohibited by these new regulations. Another couple of interesting things about these regulations, as restrictive as they are in every other category, North Carolina is only requiring an 18 years of age and up selling restriction. Most states are making these products only available to those who are 21 and up. North Carolina is sticking with 18 and up. Very interesting choice, North Carolina. Regulations, in addition to the milligram caps, there are other things like labeling and packaging requirements that we've talked about before. Biggest change will be child resistant packaging. Now, this amendment happened, let's see, today's August 17th, August 15th, the amendments were filed. The bill is moving through committees. The intel we're hearing is that it doesn't have legs and won't get very far before the end of the session, which is ending in 2 weeks or less. Even if it makes it through the House, the Senate still has to pass it. Unlikely to happen before the end of the session. Doesn't mean they couldn't hold a special session between now and the end of the year and try and do it then, but who knows. In the meantime, if it doesn't pass, we have to look forward to this fall the Farm Bill, potentially an administrative ruling from the DEA, and potentially an administrative ruling from the FDA. So it's going to be an exciting fall for everybody in the hemp industry. If you're in the hemp industry in North Carolina, go take a look at HB 563. Understand what it does to your product line. If you don't understand, call me and we'll talk about it. Because if it doesn't help you or it restricts you in any way or it's going to cause you to make a major pivot, call or email your representative today. Do not wait, because this affects you and it's going to put a lot of people in North Carolina out of business.